All right.
Hi.
Hi.
I've been waiting and dying and so impatient to find out your latest book purchases.
Oh my God. This one. Okay. This book only had 4 stars on Amazon, but I was researching the connection between witches and fairies for my last episode.
Mhm.
And I found this on like Google Books or something. And I hate ebooks because I need a book. I like the
I know
paper.
I don't like reading off a screen for too long either.
But what I was reading was like spot on, but they don't want to give you the whole book. So there was like giant
Mhm.
swaths of that chapter missing. And I was like, shit, I need that for my podcast episode. But it was never, it was like the day before we recorded. So we didn't have time. So of course I purchased the paperback and it's called The Witch. It's by Ronald Hutton and it is excellent.
Oh, it looks like something that I need to buy.
Oh, it's so good. They have a huge chapter on witches and fairies and their connection. It's like, I actually want to redo that entire episode based on this guy's whole chapter.
I think we could redo that episode.
I was thinking we could maybe do it like come Halloween. We could do a revisit that. The whole witches fairies connection. It's excellent and it's very highbrow with a very teeny tiny print. I need my best my best
readers
to read it every
Your
night.
monocle.
Yes, you know what I was gonna say. It is an excellent resource. My only problem that I have with it is only one teeny weeny tiny problem is that nowhere in it does he actually consider the possibility that fairies are real. That's the only thing I don't like. It's very highbrow. He's looking at everything like from an academic standpoint, but the research and the details and the history and the depth at which he dives into the subject is so amazing. I will let it slide.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed.
I am too. But we have like all the other people that know that they're real to help us in our endeavor. So, but anyways, I highly recommend. Oh, and before I forget, I am compiling a list of all of the books that we are using for our podcast research. And I'm going to come up with a master list and I'll make it available to everybody because I think it's such a great resource for everyone else who's nerds like we are.
Yeah, definitely.
So just keep an ear out for that because we'll have that available soon. It's in the works.
Because I know that myself, I quite often will listen to podcasts that recommend websites or books or TV shows. And if I don't immediately go and click through and search, it's out of my head and I've forgotten what it is. And then I've forgotten what episode that I listened to that they recommended that thing on. So actually, if you have it in a list that you can access at a later date, it means that you can just carry on listening and enjoying to us and not having to be rudely interrupted by Google. And then you can go back and reference that list at your leisure.
I'm so excited to put that together. So that's in the works.
And I'm sure that there'll be books on there that I haven't got yet. So you're going to be enabling my book buying habit.
I'm not sorry.
I actually already found through my research for this week's episode, it referenced a few books that I went, oh, I haven't got that one yet.
Oh,
I know.
Well, maybe I'll have to get them. We can put them on the list.
I might have to go and buy these. These are books from like 1800s.
Oh yeah. Well, they're reprinting so many things, these publishers, which thank God they are, because otherwise all this information would just die. I mean, these are really old books that aren't, getting whipped up into the internet. They're like,
there's loads of them getting reprinted. Apart from Catherine Briggs' Dictionary of Fairies. Come on.
I know. I feel like we have to do that one. I feel like that's going to become our job.
It's probably still owned by a publisher because it's 1970s.
Well, what are they waiting for? It's so great. And all the other ones are reprinted. I don't understand why this one is not.
I know. That's the one that everyone wants. And it's the one that you can't get your hands on.
I know.
And it's killing me. It's killing me not being able to get my hands on that book.
I'm sorry. I feel guilty that I own one. In fairness, I paid a shitload of money for it. No, actually I didn't, but my credit did.
Yeah,
my only credit card that I have is my Amazon rewards card, and it gets me 5% on every Amazon purchase. So I highly recommend getting an Amazon connected credit card.
I think
that's the only reason I have.
I would soon mount up.
I use my credit all the time because I keep buying more books. It's a really amazing problem to have. But anyways, so yeah, anything else book or fairy related before we dive into our awesome topic for this week, which I'm really excited about to hear?
Not fairy related, but I went to a craft fair at the weekend, and local to me, called Exclusively Highlands. That's the name of the company that run the craft fair, which I've actually done stalls for them as well. And I bought a new gin.
Oh, really?
And I bought it purely on its name, because it's called Pictish gin. And I was like, I need to buy
that. That's super cool. Is it delicious?
It's absolutely delicious. Yeah. I've already had a few glasses of it. It's absolutely delicious. It's made by somebody local to here.
Oh, cool.
And it was absolutely delicious. So if you're local to me and you want to check out Pictish gin, it was super nice.
Oh, cool. What's your favorite mixer?
I'm just a tonic and ice and lemon girl, to be honest, because I'm not one of those people that's super good at remembering that there's different kinds of mixes to go with different kinds of gin. I'm like, just
it's alcohol, it in the glass, and let's down the hatch.
Just down the hatch.
Is that your garnish of choice? Do you like lemon? I prefer lime in my gin and tonics.
Yeah, I like a lemon or a lime. Possibly some mint leaves might be nice.
That's delicious. That's like a little, what's it called? That gets mojito-y. Do you like mojitos?
I love them. Yeah,
that's where that mint comes in.
Of boozers we are.
I know. I'm not drinking any alcohol today, which is super lame. But I have to take my kids to the dentist at 4:00, so I don't think it would be good if I
don't think that'd be a good
swerving around the town because I couldn't refrain during a folklore podcast. Such a random life that we lead. But the next time we do need to record one with drink in hand.
I will take through my bottle of Pictish gin if I've still got any left in the bottle.
Okay. How about this weekend we record for next week and we'll do it on the weekend? I'm all in. No dentist appointments.
In for that because dear listeners, we are so good at being so far in advance that we literally record like on the day that we need to publish or the day before.
Yeah, we're killing it. We're all over this. Like, I just had to actually email all of my people that subscribe to my art newsletter that I'm not doing weekly art lessons anymore for free. Because I don't have any time. So I'm going to do them I'm calling it Whimsical Wednesdays because you got to have alliteration if you live anywhere in my world. And I'm going down to every other week because I can't.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, I have so much to talk about with fairies. I couldn't possibly like keep up with my art lessons. Well, plus I have 3 art clubs that I actually would never skimp on. So someone's got to be skimped. And I guess it's my YouTube freebie seekers for the moment. But
I don't know how you do it all, Karen.
I don't either, but I'm clearly not because I just had to scale back. But yeah, but I can't. I like need to talk about witches and fairies and ghosts. I need to, so I had to come up in the priority rank. The art is gonna have to wait. Whatever. I have 400 art videos on YouTube right now across 2 channels. Like it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, I think we can wait.
Plenty to binge on if you have to have some.
Plus, you could just listen to a podcast episode instead.
I know, which also gets you in the creative mood. Yeah,
actually, they all contribute to creative moods because
I think they do.
The more that I'm doing my reading about all of the folklore of Scotland, the more I find that I actually just sketched out ideas for Kelpie painting and a Queen of the Fairies painting and one that is to do with this week's episode as well.
Oh, good.
Which is Selkies.
I feel exactly the same way. And actually, you just made me remember. I was reading one of the pages in Catherine Brigg's Encyclopedia of Fairies or Dictionary
of that shall not
Fairies.
Be named.
Yes, the coveted book that no one can have. And there was this hilarious. We were talking about one of our previous episodes of what a good writer Catherine Briggs is as well. Like in addition to the fact that her research is amazing, and she had painted in my head this image of like this fairy queen, like presiding over like a cow, which was being milked by a something crazy and weird. And I was like dying laughing. And I was like, this would make the best painting ever. And I was like bookmarking this page, like must paint. And the same thing for the thing that I'm going to be talking about next week, which do you want me to tell you what it is? Or do you want me to not tell you what it is?
That's up to you. I don't mind knowing.
Okay. Well,
maybe it's funny because I was listening just before we started recording. I was listening to the latest episode of the Witches of Scotland podcast, and one of the presenters was doing that suspenseful thing about their special guest and not saying who he was and being all intriguing.
And then you're like, just tell me, it's annoying.
But the other presenter was like, you do realize that the name of the special guest is in the title that people see.
Right. So. Exactly. Plus also like surprises. I feel like sometimes surprises are only exciting to the person who's keeping the secret. And then it's just annoying not knowing for everyone else. Like, I know, like you can't be like, it's a surprise. Like, trust me when I tell you it's good. It's like, no, I just tell me what the fuck it is.
Just want to know. Go on, tell me.
So I'm going to be talking about the Urisk, I think, or the Uric. I forget. There's like 4 different spellings of it, but it's basically like a half goat, half human fae
that
creature.
Would make a good painting.
Right? So that's what I'm talking about. So I'm listening to these podcasts about it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like running to my art desk to like go sketch this guy out. Cause just the physical, the descriptions that they give is very like, remember when we were doing Finn Fokahim and they were talking about like the dour, like the Finn men were like dour and like grumpy. And like, just in my head, I just see this hilarious pissed off merman. And that was the same thing listening to and I won't tell you, I won't spill the beans on what the sort of physical description is of this.
Give us a little bit of suspense,
but at least I'll tell you a little bit. But I was like, oh, it's the same thing. Like, I can't wait to draw him because they sound so these are like characters come to life in my head, and then I want to go run and get them out of my paper. So I agree. I agree with you though.
Like the lovely image that I still have in my head of the Ben Nia and her droopy boobs.
The droopy boobs swung over her shoulder with her one nostril, like webbed feet. Like, what does that? What is that? Oh my God. Hilarious. And horrifying.
I know.
Yeah, I agree. It all leads to artistic inspiration, at least to me as well.
It does to me too.
Yeah,
I know. And if you're a listener that doesn't do art, like
take your word for it.
We forgive you. It's okay.
I feel sorry for you, but you'll be okay.
You can still be part of our gang.
You can look and laugh at our sketches when we like make ridiculous things. Oh my God, so funny. So what are you talking about today?
This week I'm actually talking about a fairy creature that is, for once, pretty nice.
Oh, we were due for some pleasantries.
I know, because we've had quite a lot of horror and gore and disgustingness, and scary and like, you know,
a little negative. It's been negative for a while.
People eating and hands, feet, and bits and burning and
yes, you're right. Strangulation,
all that kind of stuff. So this week, I'm talking about Selkies.
Thanks, Lucy.
And I thought I would just pick something that was kind of nice, and it's some really lovely stories. There's still a bit of sadness involved, and bit, of course, when it comes to fairy creatures, there's still a little bit of manipulation. There's always a little bit.
It's always a little dark. I just have to ask really quickly. Can you hear my husband right now is taking a shower in the next room with the doors open between myself and the next room, and he's like hucking and coughing up loogies in the shower. And I just want to make sure that no one else can
American
hear that
expression.
except for
I'm gonna
me.
huck a loogie,
right? Like I'm sitting here trying to listen to you nicely, and
we say gobbing.
Can you shut the door?
I don't hear him at all. It's okay.
Okay. Well, look at the. I like. Good thing my screen is tilted. Like he's look right there. I'm like, shut the door.
Quick, that would turn this into a completely different channel.
Sean, I don't edit these podcasts. I mean, so if you come out here naked, you're gonna be naked on the podcast.
We need like an explicit warning for our subject matter and swearing, but we don't want one for naked 40-something-year-old men.
No, although Sean works out, it wouldn't be the worst naked guy that was ever on a podcast. I'm just saying. They could be worse. He does a good job. But anyways, hilarious. Well, I'm excited to hear about Selkies, and I'll tell you why though, because you're like, do I have a choice? You're just gonna roll and you're gonna roll me down.
Yeah, I want to hear.
Well, I get a little confused about the Selkies. There's a lot of like conditions and rules. It's like a little complicated, I feel like, in some of these stories. And so I'm excited to get the story straight.
There is an element of complicatedness, just like there is in
everything else.
But actually I found that the Selkies was a fairly simple story.
Okay, well, good.
After the absolute gruesomeness of Sonny Bean, I needed something kind of a bit fun and fairy tale like and cute to research. So I decided to go for Selkies. So I'm going to first of all just explain what Selkies are for those people that don't know what a Selkie is, because I'm sure that a lot of you do. Selkies are one of the fairly well known.
I didn't know what it was before I went to Scotland. No, your fairy fae creatures don't seem to come over the pond. So please tell us.
There's films. There are some films with Selkies in. There's the Song of the Sea, and there's different. They are in Hollywood to some extent, or in filmmaking.
I think that a very small percentage of Americans have heard or known or have seen a movie about it. I was unawares. I think, and even the movie that I'm recalling was like, they did it in such a, like a not literal way almost, that I was little when I saw, and I didn't grasp that the Selkie woman was actually a seal. Like they make it very much inferred almost and not literal.
It's actually a little bit more complicated than
that. I told you it was complicated. Thank you.
It's actually just a little bit more complicated than that. Yes. Oh, I saw a leg. I saw a leg.
And had shorts on.
So Selkies are specifically linked to Orkney and Shetland.
Oh, see, I didn't know that either.
And you do get similar creatures in other parts of the world. One is in Ireland. This creature is not called Selkie, though. It's called a roan, I think. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Okay. But in Orkney and Shetland, they are called Selkies. I find it really interesting that Scotland and probably other countries have a huge focus on water creatures and sea creatures.
Yes.
Because Finn folk are from that area as well. Is it Orkney or Shetland that they're from?
Orkney.
Okay, yeah. So, but while the Finn folk are quite naughty and not altogether nice, Selkies are a much nicer creature. So there is a divide between them. But if you think about the fact that we've got, mermaids and kelpies and Selkies, and there's a whole heap of other ones that we haven't spoken about yet, like
so many.
The blue men of the Minch. That's one that I want to cover at some point. That's another cool one. But like, there's a whole heap of water and sea creatures, which I guess
and kelpies
is partly maybe to do with the it's quite a dangerous place, the water.
Well, and especially those are islands, so they're surrounded by it all the time. And I do think that like back in the day, I think people drowned like all the time in inland and in these islands. I mean, I think it was just treacherous, and they had to use the ocean for, you know, all the fishing and like using its resources. And I think
and I don't, you know, they wouldn't have had life jackets. There wouldn't have been ways of contacting other people if your boat was going down. And also Shetland, for those listeners that haven't looked at a map of Scotland, if you don't realize it is in the middle of fucking nowhere.
It really is.
It's not close to the mainland of Scotland. It's actually closer to the Scandinavian countries than it is to Scotland. It's super far away. You have to take a flight or a very long, choppy, horrible ferry ride to get to Shetland. And then when you get up there, there's no trees. It is super remote. And it's not just one big island. There's loads and loads and loads of little islands. And it's the same with Orkney, but Orkney is closer to the mainland of Scotland. It's a smaller ferry ride, but still, I mean, I've never been to Orkney and Shetland. I'd love to go, but they are super remote, so much so that even in the 21st century, lots of companies won't post things up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can't. There's like places that just won't mail order all the way up there because they're like, well, it's like it's far too far.
Right.
Or they get charged this super huge extra rate. Right. So can you imagine what it was like in the 1700s and the 1800s?
No, and there's no ferries remote. Or if there was, it was like a tiny rowboat or some.
I know. So the people that lived up in Shetland, I can't imagine that they made their way to mainland Scotland very often, or mainland Norway and Sweden and those countries. So super, super remote. So yeah, it was probably a pretty dangerous, scary livelihood. But yeah, but Selkies are nice. Selkies are nice. Hey. It's okay. So actually, before I started researching this, I'd always put Selkies. This is what I'm finding super interesting about this podcast research.
Yeah.
I'd put Selkies in the mythical creature category in my head.
Yeah.
Like a mythical creature like
a unicorn.
Loch Ness Monster. But actually, Selkies are fairies.
I'm with you. I would have put them in my head I would have put them also in the mythical creature categories.
But and they're not.
And the only reason I'm not surprised they're in the fairy category is because of this podcast and doing research as well, which makes it actually a million times cooler.
I know. So they're actually called, the other name for them is sea fairies.
Oh, I did not know that either.
I know.
It's pretty.
So up in Orkney and Shetland, the people up there can actually make a distinction between normal seals. So it's not that all seals are Selkies. Okay. There are normal seals that are just seals. And then there are Selkie seals, which are the fairy creature.
Oh, and they cannot distinguish between the two?
They can't. There is a difference. They can see that there's a difference.
Oh, cool. Tell me more.
So usually the Selkie seals are usually the larger ones. And they say that you can tell whether it's a Selkie because they have loads of expression in their eyes. You can see from the expression in their eyes. And there's a bit of contention over how they originated or where they came from. But just like we have talked about before, not that we want to repeat ourselves, but it's absolutely fascinating how some of these things just come back around. And they're the same thing, is that some people think that Selkies were fallen angels who were driven out of heaven because they had allegiance to Satan, but they weren't bad enough to be put into hell. So they got made into Selkies.
God, yeah, that's very consistent with a lot of other.
It's very consistent with the fact that a lot of people think that fairies were fallen angels, but actually in some of the literature, we'd contest that. We'd say that that's actually more of a Christian view, putting that onto the fairy realm to try and dissuade people from believing or associating themselves with fairies, because no, they're not fairies, they're actually devils.
Demons. Well,
demons and devils.
And to put a finer point on this, and this is what I'm getting out of this witch book, is that the Catholics, because Catholicism came first, the Catholics, that's very much the Irish and the Catholic and the Irish Catholic view, but like the Catholics that were in Scotland and Ireland, like they were able to like justify and work in the fairies into their world of religion and with religion. Like they were like, oh, okay, well, fairies are just fallen angels. Like that makes sense. They could kind of like compartmentalize them into something that made sense. And actually the Catholics were not only that, but they were the existence of fairies as being spirits actually helped them justify the notion that the Holy Ghost and God were also spirits. And so they were like, okay, yes, that actually helps strengthen the Catholicism religion. Because they're like, oh yes, look, there's this kind of fairies and this kind of fairies. And so they were like, oh, they're all spirits together. And then when the Protestants came, they were the ones who were like, oh, hell no. The fairies are from the devil and Satan himself, and absolutely not. Like we are not having this Catholicism. We are not having the fairies. Like the fairies are all from Satan, and this is all bad. And all the witches. That's where it was all the Protestants that came in that had the Scottish witch trials, because they were like, oh, you believe in fairies? That means you are also believing in anything Satan, and then you need to go. And I didn't realize that religious distinction between how the
Catholicism allows for a lot more
spirituality, like spirits in existence, also, and there's saints, and there's the Holy Ghost and all the
extra stuff, whereas Protestantism kind of narrows it all down and cleans it up.
They were like none of any of that. And I didn't recognize that distinction until we started talking about the connection between the fairies and the witches, and how much it was like the Protestants were the ones who came out and were like, no, all of this has to go. Like all of it is evil. So, and that was like the mid 1500s when that started. So sorry, carry on. I just learned that little tidbit. And
I know it's super interesting. I was actually watching a documentary. I'm not going to sidetrack too much. But I started watching a documentary the other night about the Mayflower and the Puritans and their persecution, because they were even more extreme.
Right.
And King James didn't like them because they were even though
more extreme than him. And that's
more extreme than him. They were like, no, you can't even have Christmas.
Right.
And I find it fascinating as well. I haven't finished watching it yet. It was just one of these like,
and they're the ones that hosted the Salem witch trials, and that's why I was like, I don't know that you want to be like from Salem from back then. Like that doesn't say a lot of good things about you.
Totally.
So, anyways, So, okay, sorry for that aside.
I can't remember where I was.
It's a major aside. It had to be said. So Selkies. So
we spend our lives talking about things.
I'm obsessed.
that
80,000 tangents
and then not remembering where we were.
This podcast should be called 80,000 tangents. But what you were saying was that there's two kinds of seals, and then that the Selkies they can recognize them because they're expressive eyes. Well,
we got onto this because I said they were fallen angels, but not everyone thinks they were fallen angels. Some people think that they were drowned humans.
Right.
And some people think that they were people who had done bad things, and their punishment was to go
purgatory.
And be in a purgatory in seal form as a Selkie.
Right.
But kind of none of that fits in for me, because then all of the other folklore is very suggestive that they are another race, a fairy race,
Right.
living under the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And that's got nothing to do with drowned people and bad people for me, but that's just my personal opinion, and I'm allowed to have it because this is our podcast.
Yeah, but that is really consistent with like a lot of the stories that were collected in the, what's his name, I'm looking at my bookshelf, with the Wens. What's his name? I did a whole episode just on his book and I can't remember his damn name.
Oh, the Fairy Faith in Celtic Countries.
Yes, the Evans Wens book. Yeah. And and so a lot of people back then thought exactly what you just said. That was their way of understanding where they came from. But a lot of people, but I think it's separate groups of people, like we were just talking about, like the people that were Catholics were like, oh, those are, but there's a lot of people back then that thought that when people died, they went to the other world with the fairies. And like, that's when that's super common. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they just happened to be in water this time.
Well, it's really, it's perfect timing, because I was actually listening to another podcast last night in bed that was speaking about the theories for like hollow earth and things living inside the earth that is like that we have no access to there. There's no way that we can get there, but actually there's so much folklore that is involved in beings from inside the earth. And then it was like a little light bulb went off in me, and I was like, but this is like 3/4 of the fairy stories that we listen to, where there's like a portal inside a hill, or like the,
fairy rings.
So who's to say that that's not true, and that fairies are actually creatures that live in a part of the earth that we have no access to, that is that's connected with this, that there are stories of people seeing vessels appear from under the sea and coming up. So there's a theory now that their aliens could be actually not from another planet, but from somewhere inside our planet. They access it from the sea. And that will lead on to a story that I'll tell you later on in this episode. It just blew my mind. I was like, okay.
Mine is blowing right now. I need
other
a drink.
People might think that I've actually lost my marbles.
I kind of do. Yeah.
But it's actually kind of cool to think about whether this is something that could actually be true, or certainly the people that were writing these stories have contributed to that theory that the other world is not a dimension that we can't see. I always thought of the other world like as being a dimension that was something that we couldn't access, that we couldn't see, but that the other world could actually be underneath our world,
literally the under the worlds. I don't know that I believe that. You're gonna have to tell me a cool story, because that feels like a flat earther like thing to me.
No, that's the thing. The podcast episode that I was listening to, we're saying that flat earth and hollow earth are completely different.
Well, yeah, that would make sense, because you can't, if it's flat, it's obviously not hollow.
Yeah, because flat earth is like, quite frankly, a load of bullshit.
I know, but I'm not buying it yet. So I'm excited to listen with an open mind and an open heart to what you're going to tell me later, because that sounds a little cuckoo crazy, or cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That's what I like to say. What
the hell is Lucy going on about?
There's like an elevator shaft that goes down into the Middle Earth. Literal? Are you getting literal?
I read this really cool story. I'm going to tell you later. I'm giving you a little bit of suspense.
Wait. Okay.
Well, we need to set the scene. So we're setting the scene for Selkies.
Okay. You're doing good. All right. I'm like, can't wait.
So just like everything in Scottish folklore, there are rules and obligations.
Yes, there are. Yes.
And like weird things.
Yes.
So in some stories, it says that Selkies can only come ashore once a year.
Okay.
And that is at midsummer.
Okay.
But in other stories, it's every 7.
Always a 7.
Always a 7. But it also said or 9. Every 7 or 9 days.
Yeah. Oh, 9 days?
Yeah. Every 7 or 9 days. So they have to go back under the sea for like a week.
Right.
Before they can come back up again.
Or all year.
Depends whose rule you're reading, I guess.
Okay.
You know, some people say it's this and some people say it's that. I don't know. Maybe they only met a Selkie once a year and then they maybe met a Selkie once a week. Yep. And because there's quite a lot of ominous stuff goes on with Selkies, maybe the person that only got to meet once a year was a bit pissed off and the person that got to meet once a week was smug about it. Because they were like, I'm meeting my Selkie man once a week. Your Selkie man's only coming for you once a year.
Selkie man. Do you think it also could have to do with the fact that there's so many islands that like kind of different islands have different stories or different timelines?
Yeah, I mean, it might be. I didn't dig too deep between those two.
Yeah.
It could be that one is from Shetland and one is from Orkney, because Shetland and Orkney get lumped together, but they're actually super far apart from each other. So, I mean, it could be that one is from Shetland and one is from Orkney. I don't know.
Okay.
So it's, I don't think I said this yet, so I'd better backtrack a little bit and just explain that Selkies are fairies, but they are seal people. And the crux, the meat and the juices and the hands, bits and feet of the bits and feet of the being is that they shed their skins when they come ashore and they take on human form.
Okay.
And they can be captured by humans. If you see a Selkie skin lying on the beach and the Selkie is taken off their skin and they become a human, if you steal their skin or you destroy their skin, they're stuck in the human world. They can't change back into Selkie forms. There's loads of stories about I have had a little issue with the difference between the male Selkie stories and the female Selkie stories. I was
just going to ask you if it can be male or female.
Well, I'm just going to make that noise right now and say
it's okay.
Yeah.
All right. You know, see, this is why I was confused.
Yeah, there is a difference.
Okay.
But the thing is that there is a thought that the seal form, because I always thought Selkies were seals that were magical and turned into humans.
That's what I thought.
Actually, they're not, Karen. I'm going to blow your mind.
What are they,
Lucy? Are fairies that have fairy form, like a humanoid fairy form.
Okay.
That live in underneath the sea in another world.
Like Finfolkahim? I wonder if they hang out in Finfolkahim too.
But that's the thing. That's why I was talking about like hollow earth theory and worlds being underneath our world.
Literally.
They have a world underneath our world, but they need to put a seal skin on and take on the form of a seal in order to be able to travel like the Channel Tunnel through the water part to get to human Earth.
Okay. All right.
And then they take their seal skin off when they get to human Earth and they become themselves again.
Fascinating.
And that blew my mind.
Yeah. I bet you they're okay. When I do my Finfolkahim illustration, there are going to be Selkies hanging out there as well.
There must be.
They must be.
I know. They're like, it's like
they're having an underwater party because they're in the same place.
English and French. Maybe they hate each other as much.
Oh, yeah, maybe they do. Well, especially if the Selkie are nice, because we know that the Finfolk are
Selkie are nice. Selkie are nice and Finfolk
I wonder
are
if there's
pretty
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's fascinating. So when they're in their humanoid form on land, they're
It's
actually
their form.
Their fairy form. Yeah, that's a whole nother dimension. I did not know.
I know, I didn't know it. My mind was blown.
That's way cooler. It's way
Isn't
cooler.
It? It's so much cooler.
Yeah, it really is.
I was like, yes,
yeah,
this is so much cooler. I thought the Selkie
were...
was a magical seal.
That's what I think I did too. Yes.
But seals are seals.
Nothing to do with it. Are fairies.
Are fairies.
That's super way cooler.
I know, super way cooler. So they have
we are such nerds. It's like not even
we
funny.
sounded like Bill and Ted or something there. Hey man, that's super.
Oh my god, cool. I was doing that this morning. I was recording a YouTube video and I like full on Bill and Ted it out in my thing. And I had to like apologize. So I was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. And then I'm like, oh, I am so sorry. I just said that out loud. Like, who am I? Why am I talking like that? But I just get really into stuff.
That's why I love you.
Oh God, I gotta scale it back. Okay, this is fascinating.
No, so they have a whole under the sea palace. Just like the Finn folk.
Oh my God, they must be neighbors.
No, I wonder if they have like turf wars.
Seriously, I have so many questions.
Or like the Finn folk are shitty and the Selkies are nice. Yes. I wonder if like the Selkies get annoyed because the Finn folk don't look after their sea gardens.
They're like assholes and they're all super ugly. Like the men are super dour and ugly. And if you guys haven't listened to the Finn folk game episode, you really need to, because then it'll all make sense.
But the Selkies are not ugly. They are beautiful. Apparently, they are exceptionally beautiful. They've got dark hair, dark eyes. They're exceptionally beautiful. Apparently, they've got powers of prophecy.
In the fairy form or in the seal form?
Or both?
Oh my God. We so have to do a lesson on this.
I know. I can't wait to paint some Selkies.
Yeah.
So they're fairies under the water. They travel through the water dressed as a seal in their seal skin.
Amazing.
And then when they come up on human land, they have to take their seal skin off again so that they can walk around in human land. And if you happen to see the seal skin and steal it, you can trap the Selkie because they can't travel back through in their elevator shaft down to their under the sea.
Do you think there's like a zipper? They're like, bzzz?
Well,
or is it like Velcro where they're like, zzz?
Your boys are a little bit younger than mine, but it totally put in mind an episode of Doctor Who that I watched with my son when he was like 6. That was one of the first episodes of the new lot of Doctor Who's, when they revived it.
I never watched it. I watched one and I was terrified and I couldn't watch anymore.
Were you hiding behind the sofa?
I watched the mannequin one when they all came to life. And I was like terrified. I was like 40 when I watched.
I love Doctor Who.
Watch it.
So, okay, don't watch the one that's called Don't Blink.
It's too scary.
Don't watch the one.
I'm not watching any of them.
Don't watch the one with the weeping angels.
Ugh,
it's absolutely terrifying. No. And I could not go into a graveyard without freaking out for ages afterwards. But at the same time, so genius and so amazing.
Yeah, I can't.
But scary. There was an episode of Doctor Who way back in that first season, that first Christopher Eccleston, I'm going to sound like a right nerd now.
Do it.
Season, where there were aliens that had human suits and they were big squishy aliens. It was back when the CGI was really bad.
Yeah.
And then they had these human zippers that made them look
that's what I'm thinking. Like they shed their skin, they're like, here we go, zoop, like a big like bodysuit, and then they're like, dump it on the beach, and then away we fairy go.
Away we go. But they'd have to hide it somewhere so that nobody steals
it.
Yeah. So there's differences between the men and the women. I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
But there are a few things that distinguish them. They love music, and every good fairy folk we know. They love music. And apparently if you stand on the beach and you play the harp or the pipes You can lure them.
Sling my harp to the beach.
I know.
It's so light.
I'm just gonna take my pocket harp to the beach.
Just gonna whip my harp out right here.
And play the dulcet tones of bagpipes. Okay, I'm going to interject here and say I actually do love the sound of bagpipes.
Oh my God, I love bagpipes.
Like any good Scot,
I feel God, I'm obsessed.
The sound of bagpipes makes me feel so patriotic.
Oh, it makes me like weep. It just makes me weep that I'm not there every time I hear them. I am But obsessed.
It's not really dulcet, enchanting, ethereal tones, really.
Not.
I can't imagine
it can
be this beautiful creature on the seashore with a bagpipe tune.
Oh my God, so good.
But anyway,
sorry.
If you play the bagpipes or the harp, go down to the beach. You never know, you might bag yourself a selkie, and they are good looking.
They are super good looking.
They have their own language.
What?
I know.
What?
But they can also speak English.
Oh,
or
nice.
Scots, Gaelic, whatever. But they have their own language. And then here's this super cool thing. Do you want to know this?
Yes, I'm dying.
They can blow on clouds or a wave, and it will turn it into a horse for them to ride.
Shut the front door.
I know.
What? You think they hang out with kelpies? No, they're not in the ocean.
Yeah, this is like a magical horse that they make by blowing on clouds or waves, and they blow on them, and it turns them into a horse, so that when they become a human, they've got a horse to ride.
That is very convenient.
I know.
I can't think of a single reason that wouldn't be amazing every single time.
I do have a question though. Do they have
from me?
Do they have no, it's not, you're not going to be able to answer it. You didn't even know that they were like, you
I might know something. Try me. What is it?
When they take off their sealskin, do they have clothes underneath like Superman, or like
I bet you they're naked like the kelpies, and they are come here.
Do they hide do they have like designated spots next to the sea where they've hidden some clothes, so when they take off their sealskin they can run and like get dressed?
I think they have little like fairy lockers.
Yeah. Like they have to stash beach huts, like fairy beach huts.
Yep. Yeah, there's some lockers, combination locks.
Like the swimming pool.
Yeah. They have a couple of keys on a keychain. And then they stash their sealskin, and then they whip out their clothes in the locker room.
I always think that of werewolves as well. I'm like, you turn into a werewolf and your clothes rip off, and then when you turn back, like you lose your clothes every time.
I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to make a sketch of the Selkie locker room with like the incoming ones with their sealskins and the outgoing ones holding their like fairy man clothes. This is amazing.
There's maybe like a cloakroom attendant. Like, here's your ticket. Number 5.
This just became
when you come back, you'll get your sealskin back. Don't lose your ticket or you're stuck here forever.
The coat check. God, so good, Lucy. It's so good. I wanted to make like 50 t-shirts from this episode.
Oh my God.
It's my favorite episode. Oh my God, that's amazing.
I'm only halfway through page 1.
Between the zipper and the cloud horse and the locker room, like what? And the elevator shaft that goes down into the Middle Earth. This is the best. Oh God, it's so good. And you said you didn't have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, okay. I'm not even half done yet. But this is what happens every time.
Every time.
We start off I'm just gonna disclose something to our secret to our listeners. We start every episode off messaging each other,
freaking out,
saying, "Oh my God, I don't think I've researched enough. I don't think I've got enough stuff. I don't feel prepared.
I'm not ready." Yep. And then we can't shut the fuck up. Every single time. Okay, you have to tell me more now. I cannot wait. Go.
So there's a difference between male and females because this is older, more misogynistic society where males have it easier than women, let's face it.
Okay.
So if you're a male Selkie,
Mm-hmm.
you can choose whether you're coming ashore. And actually, you're choosing to come and have your wicked way with human women. So
is that why they come to shore?
They come to shore
with women,
to mate with women, and they generally choose human women whose men aren't satisfying them.
Oh, so they want like horny women specifically.
They want horny human women whose human men aren't doing their duty.
Well, which is why they're horny. Oh my God. What in the heck? What in the actual
And the Selkie man will say, I'll come and help you out.
Oh, damn. That's kind of hot.
And some of them choose to have children with these women, and some of them stay for a while, and some of them just smash and grab and go.
Nice. Now I've read in a lot of places that fairies are reliant on humans because they can't they can't procreate themselves, which is why they need humans to do it. So that would make perfect sense.
But the strange thing is that the half human Selkie children, and you wait until later on, because I've got a revelation for you, but the half Selkie human children don't ever go back into the Selkie world. They stay up here.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder why that is. I hope you'll tell me.
So,
okay, so let's
not like, sorry, excuse me, everybody, if you heard my little burp there. I hope that didn't get picked up.
I did not, but now we all know. And no, I'm not editing that part out because I don't edit anything.
Oh, we're raw and uncensored. It's okay. I don't know. I feel like they come aboard. These men come aboard just so that they can have sex with the human women. I don't think it's anything to do with wanting to further the Selkie race, because they don't make Selkie babies. They make half human, half Selkie babies.
Well, they're just like human men.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
I know.
Really? They don't really.
I know. So the Selkie men are super, super handsome, and they're really good at seducing women.
I can't wait to draw them.
I know.
I wonder if they're as hot as the Kelpie men.
Sometimes they seduce women who's are the wives of fishermen, and the fishermen are off getting their fish. They're off on like a long voyage. So the wives are lonely, and they come and they seduce the human women. But the females have got it different. They've got it tougher.
Oh no. Why?
Because these stories are from the 1800s.
Well, I know why that,
but tell me
why they differ. Tell me how they differ. I know why.
Because the females don't want to come into the human world, but they are tricked by human men. So they're the ones whose coats get stolen. The male Selkies just come and have their wicked way and leave again and do it when they want. They like hide their coat somewhere, and they're coming and they're pretending to be humans, right, for a short while, and then they leave again.
Have their way and leave.
All the stories, or the most of the stories about Selkie women, are that they come up onto the shore. I don't know why they don't just choose to stay in their Selkie world if this is the case.
Yeah,
but
I wonder.
Anyway,
so they're tricked by humans to come out and take.
And they are tricked by humans. So they come up on the shore, and the men trick them, and they steal their skin, and then that is basically forcing them to become a wife.
Well, are they like particularly beautiful? Like,
yeah, they are. They're beautiful.
Maybe the Scottish women aren't as good looking.
What are you saying? What are you saying? Careful there. Careful what you say there.
In some villages.
It is actually, if you've ever seen, I have to say, it, like myself aside, if you've ever seen Scottish portraits in castles of Scottish ladies, they're not actually particularly
That's not true. The portraits at Ward Hill are actually beautiful. Oh my
Yeah, but they're maybe not altogether Scottish. I don't know. Maybe they're like gentry from England.
The
I don't
Leslie
know,
family are been in Scotland for 1,000 years.
Yeah, okay.
So you're wrong, and those are beautiful. But I hear what you're saying.
But we don't know what they're like up in Orkney and Shetland.
True.
I know.
If you're like from Orkney and Shetland and you're listening to us, let us know how ugly the women are up there, because we want to know if it fits in with this historical story. Don't you have a friend who is in Orkney who does listen? Who's not?
I know a few people that live up in that way. Yeah. So if you're still listening,
if you haven't shot your phone out the window because you're so annoyed at us right now,
then what do you tell us how beautiful the
let us know about your ancestors. Were they hot or not? Take the quiz. Does your story line up with the Selkie preference?
I know,
that's interesting. I love that both guys on both sides are like,
it's winners for the man. Let's face it, it's winners for the man on both sides. Selkie men get to come and have sex with women whenever they feel like it. Leave. Selkie human men get to steal a Selkie wife. Maybe it's because the human man is so awful. It's nothing to do with the women. Well, maybe it's the men. The men are so ugly and awful that they can't get a human wife and they have to steal a wife.
Or maybe the men have no women left because all the women are off having sex with the Selkie men.
I know.
It's just like swingers on the beach in Shetland. Like, what is happening over there? And when the little baby fairy seals are born, are they like furry little seals when they come out? Oh, wait, what? Oh, what?
I'm leaving you a little bit of suspense.
We're here. Tell me. What do you mean?
Well, there is a story. Will I go into this story now? Just because you're asking? Yes. I'll go into this story. I'm going to have to scroll down my document on my computer, God. And then find my place again. But
so sorry, your index finger has to move. It happened. So sorry. Do it. So I need to know.
There is actually a whole family from up that way. I'm not sure whether it was Orkney or Shetland. I think it might be Shetland. Called the McCodrums.
Okay.
It's actually a second name that I've not heard of before, but it's from up that way. Mm-hmm. And I did Google that second name and I found this really cool kind of ancestry type second name website that said that we think this second name is now extinct. So I don't know if there's people with that second name. And then I, of course, had to do my own second name. And I discovered that my second name is pretty unusual. And there's only 800 and something people in the whole of North America with my second name.
Oh, fascinating. What's your second name? Is that your maiden name? Is that what that second name means? Did you say maiden name?
No, it's my surname.
Oh, yeah. So we say maiden name in the US.
Oh, that's if you're not married.
Right? Oh.
That's a woman if you're not married.
No. Oh, in the UK. No. Maiden name, it just means that's like your surname, your first name before you're married.
Yeah, that's what we call it. But only women would say your maiden name. But I'm not married, so I don't have a maiden name. My surname you mean is just my surname.
Just Bryden is only there's only 800 people in the US with Bryden?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking, I don't know. For some reason, I don't know what I was thinking. Sorry. I was confused there for a minute.
Did you think I meant Lucy?
No, I was thinking, I know you haven't been married. So I know you Bryden's your last name, but I think in my head, I was thinking Bryden is not like a strange name or anything. So perhaps you were talking about another family name, which makes absolutely no sense. So just disregard everything coming out of my mouth.
Anyway, that was a sidestep.
Okay.
I'm sure nobody wants to know about my
unusualness.
Maybe. No, you won't. Let's face it.
No, I won't. Too lazy you're to go to the dentist at 4 anyway. I have no time. So, okay.
So there is a family that is called the McCodrums of the Seals. That is their name.
Cool.
And apparently they do trace some of their ancestry back to being part Selkie.
That's probably the coolest thing I've ever heard.
I know. And So the legend goes way back to, apparently there was one of their ancestors called John McCudron, who was from like the early 1700s, and he was a poet, and he said that he was descended from the Selkies. And there's another story by somebody called W. Trail Dennison, who was a folklorist in the 1800s, whose book I need to check out him. I need to go Google him.
Absolutely.
And he told a story about a woman called Ursula, but apparently that is a pseudonym because she didn't want to actually be named. She wanted to keep her identity a bit of a secret. And this woman was one of these women who had sex with a Selkie because her own husband was, and I'm going to put in air quotes, disappointing. We all know what that means.
Yes.
And so her way of getting this Selkie guy, which I thought was super cool, was she had to shed 7 tears into the sea.
Ooh.
The magical 7.
Always.
She had to shed 7 tears into the sea in order to call for the Selkie guy. And then she had this affair with the Selkie guy. She had more than one child by him. So he must have come and done his thing, done his bits, left. And then she had a baby. And then she called him again. And he did his bit again. And then she had another baby, whatever. And apparently her children were born with webbed hands and feet. Oh. And that's how people knew they were Selkies. And the midwife took some kind of knife or whatever and clipped the webs.
Oh, that's not nice.
And this is the only disgusting part of my
like
whole podcast episode. Listener warning. Nothing as bad as Sonny Bean, but they grew into a horny crust.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What did you say?
A horny crust?
Ew.
And I don't mean horny as in I'm a Selkie man and I want to have lots of sex. I mean like all like it's scabbed over, I guess. Like they scabbed over on the palms and the soles of these children.
Of course they did, because this poor real life human baby was just cut up by this midwife.
What do you mean human baby? It was half Selkie. What are you talking about?
So of course it crusted over.
Well, but apparently her descendants, so the descendants of the children also had this feature.
The webbed feet.
The webbed feet. Hands. But I didn't really want to get into sensible, rational explanations for things.
I'm sorry. I'll back out.
There is some medical things that would explain that, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah, we don't want to know those.
Apparently, there were also babies born with like greenish skin or like skin, like scaly skin that, or had like large eyes that looked like seals. So there were people who claimed to be descended from Selkies in that area because of features that they're born with, which is absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to use my index finger to scroll up and try and find where
I'm so sorry. Are you going to be okay? Do you need a little baby index finger sling?
I don't know. It's more the fact that I can't
elevate it for the rest of the day.
Fucking place after
Put a little ice pack on it. Sorry. I needed to know about the babies. Yeah.
I know. So there are Selkie descendants, which is kind of cool. And, documented. And do you know what? When I was reading that, was there not a little bit in that fairy faith, the fairy
about Selkies?
That fairy video that we watched?
Yeah, the fairy faith.
Was there not a bit where they interviewed people that claimed to be descended from Selkies?
I don't remember that. There could have been. I don't remember that though.
And there was a little girl and she was like saying, oh, I know that our family are descended from Selkies.
Oh, crap. I don't remember. I'm going to rewatch it. I don't remember that at all.
I can't,
but
honestly,
that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
It could be something different I watched, but I have a vague memory. that there's families in Scotland that it is in their ancestry and in their personal family folklore that they are descended from Selkies, which I find absolutely.
I think that's so cool. But there's also a lot of clans who have fae ancestry tales, like the MacLeods that are from Skye. And there's a whole, and I want to do an episode on this, but there's also a clan that was descended from a fairy bunch that's where the bagpipe came from.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating also. It's like a beautiful story.
Well, if you think about it,
there's another one. I think it's the Murphys, where they have a bridal. They have a Kelpie bridal.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
If you think about it, if fairies are another race, and there's multiple races, that's why there's Selkies and Finfolk and goblins and all the different ones, they all look different. If they are races that live within a dimension that's either underneath our earth, sorry to get back to that, or in another, I don't know why that's poo-pooed more than a multi-dimension.
You know what? You are right. You are 100% right. Can you make me a t-shirt with an elevator shaft that goes to the middle or so? I need that. Of course I will. I'm going to need that. Okay. Thanks.
If they breed with humans, that is no different from someone with dark hair breeding with a redhead and the baby looking one way or the other way.
You're right.
Do you know what
Lucy,
I mean?
There's no different. Nope. It's the same.
It's the same thing. So you could have like a half human, half Selkie with webbed feet and hands,
little hair.
Or you could have somebody who had relations with more of a ethereal elven creature and has a child that is very skinny with very fairy kind of features. You never know.
No, I'm
not going to dismiss anything here.
I believe all of it.
I believe all of it.
Because if not, it's so lame.
If you listen to us and you think that we're stark raving bonkers,
we're not even drinking. Fine. Yeah, we're not even drinking this thing. So just wait till we drink.
So these female Selkies that are trapped, which I think is awful, by the human men, there's quite a lot of stories of them finding their skins at a later date. So they get trapped, they have children with the human men. This is a super common story. And then apparently there is a version of this in all of the different islands in Orkney and Shetland.
And I bet you the mom Selkie probably loves her half human babies. And like having a fun life.
Them.
But then she does when she finds her skin.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
I know.
That's actually very surprising.
So
must be the fairy element, because a human mom would not abandon their babies.
No. So the Selkie woman the husband will hide the skin. I don't know why he doesn't just chuck it in a fire and get rid of it. He wants to keep her, but quite often he'll hide it, lock it in a chest or whatever. Yeah. And then in some of the stories, the child finds the skin.
Oh, that's sad.
Like, why is this, Mom? And the mom is like, it's my Selkie skin. I can go back to my original.
So she zippers it up and then dives back in the ocean, and that's it.
But the thing is that actually sometimes she's a slave, really. She's been forcibly removed from her Selkie home to procreate with this human. So that's not really fair. And
do any of them find love?
She can't take her children with her because they don't have Selkie skins.
Okay.
Because each Selkie has one skin. They don't have they can't just go and cut a skin off another Selkie, another seal, and use it if they lose their Selkie skin. It's like one Selkie, one skin. They don't have an option. So these Selkie women that find their skins, they can't make skins for their children. So I guess they're torn. They have to choose. But quite often these Selkie women have Selkie husbands in their Selkie palace underneath the sea,
neighbors
next door to Folkheim. And so when they find their skin, that's where they want to go. They want to go back to their original home. Yeah, it's a tough one. And I think that's the thing that makes it the Selkie story so sad.
Yeah.
Because there are lots of images of these Selkie women sitting on the seashore, looking out, gazing out, and pining for their homes, which is going to make me cry if I think about it too much. Not really. I'm just saying that.
I know that this episode is my favorite.
Really?
And I love everything about all things Selkie.
Do you want to hear some fun stories then?
Yes.
That's the second half and last bit of this episode. If we had some sponsors, we would stop now for a quick break, but we don't.
So back to business. Yes.
Go to the stories.
I'm so excited.
So I'm going to start off with the most boring one, because then we can build it up and then you can be super excited at the super exciting one.
Yes.
But one of the stories is actually from Catherine Briggs. It's from her book, The Fairies in Traditional Literature. And this is a really recent one. This is one about a woman in the 1950s.
No way. That's so cool.
And that's why I included it, because I was like, that's
basically really, just happened like yesterday. Yeah,
it's really recent within living history, but it is also a little bit tame in comparison to the other ones. So this woman is telling a story about her sister. So this happened to this woman's sister, and her sister lived up in the Highlands and Islands. She didn't, but her sister did.
Mm-hmm.
And her sister decided that she was going to go walking down to the beach one night to go swimming in moonlit swimming. She was obviously a very daring and racy woman in the 1950s to go.
Right, true.
But she wasn't going to go skinny dipping.
Probably cold.
Because she only took off her coat and her shoes.
Okay. Awkward, but all right. I'm with you.
I know.
But it's the 50s. So,
And it's Scotland.
And it's cold and she's modest. So,
yes,
you do what you can.
But as she was going towards the sea, she had to walk past this freshwater loch that people had told her not to go past. But she walked past it anyway. And as she walked past it, she heard footsteps. And the footsteps started following her, like kind of giggly footsteps. And she started running. And as she was running, the footsteps got faster and faster and faster. And then she got to the seashore and the footsteps sounds disappeared. But she suddenly saw loads of seals all over the rocks.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
And then she stripped, but not naked, and got in the water. And decided to go swimming at nighttime. I don't know. That to me is the craziest part of the story, because if you live in the Highlands in Scotland, it's fucking cold in the sea.
Yeah, just call it like you see it. It's fucking cold.
Like,
it's nighttime.
It's nighttime, so it's even colder at nighttime.
No.
I know.
Yeah.
And so, but then all of a sudden, all the seals slipped off the rock and surrounded her. And then this one seal came right up to her and like puffed air in her face. And she made a run, a fast swim back to the shore to escape from them, because she became aware that she thinks that the footsteps were the Selkies and they were running back to the shore to then take on their seal form.
Ooh.
And then they were trying to capture her, which isn't actually normal in Selkie story for women. Women wouldn't normally get captured. So that is kind of the only semi-scary part of any of these stories.
Right.
But yeah, I would give that story a 1 out of 10. It wasn't that interesting.
So basically nothing happened. I thought you were going to say you blew a puff of air and then the horse came charging out of its mouth.
Well, so did I. I'm really sorry to disappoint you.
I was on the edge of my seat.
Sorry to disappoint you. But I know she normally delivers, but that one was a little bit.
I was left a little bit something to be desired. Okay.
But this one is even fucking better.
Well,
sorry for the swear.
Good. Don't ever.
I know you couldn't really get much worse. But this one was originally in a book called The Fairy Mythology by Thomas Knightley, 1850. Have you heard of that book? Because I need that book.
I'm trying to see if I have it. No, I'm ready. Say it again. I need to write it down.
The Fairy Mythology.
Okay.
By Thomas Knightley.
Oh yeah, I've definitely seen that footnote.
Written in 1850.
And his name. Okay.
And then the story was reproduced in my Scottish Myths and Legends book, but I'm going for the original source.
Yes,
you know
always.
I am.
Yep.
So this is a story of a fisherman who actually went to visit the underground palace.
Shut up.
I know.
What? Tell me everything.
So this fisherman apparently lived up near John O'Groats, which, if you don't know, is the most northernly part of Scotland. I didn't say the UK there. But if some people do races where they do Land's End to John O'Groats, and Land's End is the most southerly in England, and John O'Groats is the most northernly in Scotland. And there are, I've never been to John O'Groats, but when you get there, there's a signpost on there that says, Greenland, however many miles, North America, however many miles, because you can't go any further.
Yeah, cool.
So this fisherman, he lived up there. So that's not even Orkney and Shetland on the mainland.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
But never mind. Please don't judge my crappy
I have a dentist appointment to go to, so do it.
So we don't care.
So
he was like a super, super, super amazing sealskin hunter. Oh. He did loads of hunting for sealskin. He wanted to make himself super rich. He had realized he would get more money from hunting sealskins than he would from hunting fish, catching fish. Mm-hmm. So, and he was really good at his seal hunting. So in his house, there were loads of dried sealskins lining the walls. And everyone,
sad, but okay.
I know, and everyone knew him for his seal hunting.
Mm-hmm.
One evening, there was a knock at his door, and there was a dark stranger at the door. And the dark stranger, which I'm saying in a funny voice, was riding a dark horse. And he said to the man that his master really needed to speak to him about his seal hunting business. And so the man, he agreed to go with the dark stranger, because it was long before TV and he hadn't seen any scary movies and he didn't know that was a bad idea. And so
if he's a hunter, he probably feels pretty confident, like who's gonna kill him? He can just kill anything. Yeah, does it for a living. So yeah. Anywho, yeah.
But he just got on the back of the dark stranger's horse because he didn't have his own horse, and they rode like the clappers, and they got to the edge of the cliff.
Okay.
And the man thought, well, I don't see a house here. Where the hell is this master's house?
Right.
And the stranger grabbed him and
chucked him in.
Jumped
off
the edge of the cliff into the water.
Oh God.
And then the horse also jumped off the edge of the cliff into the water and then changed into a wave again. And they went right down in the sea. They went plunged into the murky depths of the North Sea of Scotland, which is pretty cold and horrible. And they went down, 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 down. And the stranger was like, but I'm not drowning. This is weird. And then eventually they sank so deep that he found that he transformed into a seal, and the dark stranger transformed into a seal. And then before he knew it, he saw this green light appear, and then the green light came closer and closer and closer, and it turned into the underwater kingdom. And he was in the Selkies underwater kingdom, where there were forests, and there were houses and whole towns, and there were crowds of fairy Selkies there, and they were all speaking a strange language that he didn't recognize.
This should be a movie.
This
so good.
This should totally be a movie.
I know.
And so, and you could hear music and you could hear dancing.
Oh my God.
And the stranger, the dark stranger, led the guy who was by this point in seal form to, which does kind of, without wanting to be a stick in the mud poo-pooer of things, contradicts the theory that they are in fairy form when they're in their underwater home, but never mind. Let's just
he maybe a descendant himself and he didn't realize?
Well, no, but you know how I said earlier they're only in seal form as they're traveling through the water, and then when they get to their Selkie palace, they're fairy form again.
Oh, I think I missed that. I think I was thinking that they're always, when they're in transit, they're in seal form, and then when they show up just on land, they're in their fairy form. So you mean, but then also in their underwater palace, they go back to their humanoid fairy form too?
Yes, apparently, but not in this story. So we don't know. So they were led to a big palace, a huge big palace. And then inside on a bed, crying out in pain, was a big old grey seal. And there was blood everywhere. And the fisherman could see a knife lying on the ground next to the seal. And the fisherman recognized that this knife actually belonged to him as one of his knives. And in that moment, he, with a sinking feeling, realized that the reason why that he recognized this knife and it was his knife was that earlier he'd been seal hunting. He'd actually stuck his knife in a seal to kill it. And that seal had escaped with the knife still in it. And that was this seal that was in the underground palace moaning in pain.
Oh, wow.
So he immediately begged for forgiveness. He was so apologetic and asked what he could do to make things better. And the stranger that had taken him there explained that he was actually the son of the injured seal, who I guess was the king of this underwater palace.
Of course he was.
I know. And that their own doctors, because clearly they've got Selkie doctors, if they've got everything else down there, couldn't fix him. They couldn't heal him because it was a human injury, not a seal injury. And so he had to be the one to heal him. So the man put his hands on the seal.
Story is amazing. I'm sorry, it's amazing. Yes.
And then initially he felt, the pain from the seal enter his own body.
Oh, wow. That's pretty powerful.
And then he looked down and the seal was healed.
What?
And better again. What? I know, the story is incredible.
It's incredible.
If this is true, oh my fucking God, the world is amazing. And if it's not true, this guy was on some good drugs.
Amen, sister.
Because
Jesus. Yeah.
Wow. So he healed the seal, and then the seal's son, the stranger who'd taken him there, said that if he ever broke his promise, because the guy then promised that he would never hunt a seal ever again because he'd realized what he'd done.
Yeah.
That if he ever broke his promise, he would die.
Whoa.
Simple as that. Not like bad
all
things,
that stuff to that. Yeah.
Like
that's
it's
just
not like
puts a
bad luck for 7 years or whatever. You're gonna die.
Yes.
But if he kept his promise, he would be rewarded with good catches of fish, because the guy said, I'll catch fish instead. I mean, he's not thinking for a moment fish could be fairy folk as well, but never mind, we're not going to go into that.
He hadn't met the Folk yet. Yeah,
he did have to also pay back the favor by remembering to play music to the fairies, to the Selkie fairies. And then the stranger said, right, I'll take you back to your house. They went in their underwater elevator seal skins back all the way to the surface. And then the stranger blew on a wave.
Horse
The
and
wave
a horse
turned into the horse.
So good.
They rowed back to the fisherman's house. He dropped him off home.
No big deal, as you do.
And to top it all off, if that wasn't cool enough, the Selkie stranger then gave the fisherman a present of some pearls.
Oh, random and so thoughtful.
I know. He came back in and his wife was like, "Where have you been, Archie? And look what I got." I don't know if he's called Archie. Apologies.
Oh my God. Don't Scottish forget name. To bring your very Selkie man friend to these pearls.
I know.
That is the most random, most intricate, ornate, amazing.
I should have actually kept that one for last because that was the best one.
But I have to go. I have 6 minutes.
Oh my God. Did we blab for too long?
I always. Can you do it in 6 minutes?
Yeah. It's like 2 minutes.
Okay.
So this is one that you could probably look up yourselves if you want. It's a super famous one. And I just Wikipedia'd it. It is called the Great Selkie of Sul Skerry, and it is a super famous ballad. It is child ballad number 113.
Yeah. And we know all about what that means in another episode.
This is a traditional folk song from Orkney and Shetland, and there's a version from Orkney and a version from Shetland, and they're pretty much the same. But this is just about a woman who has a baby, and she's crying that she doesn't know who the baby's dad is, which is kind of a little bit wanton for those days. Yeah. I don't know who my baby's dad is. You know, I obviously had sex with more than one man.
Yeah, so many
and
people.
Then this Selkie man appears and tells her that I'm the baby's daddy. I'm your baby daddy. And I'm a Selkie. And he tells her that he lives on this remote island called Sul Skerry. He gives her a purse full of gold and he takes the son away and to live in the sea with him. And then he predicts that the woman is going to marry a gunner, which is a man who fires the harpoons on the whaling ships. But he predicts that the wife's new husband is going to eventually cause their demise. And lo and behold, sad tale, one day the woman's new husband shoots a harpoon and kills the Selkie husband and the son. And the woman knows this because the son was wearing a necklace that she gave to him. And after they die, the husband finds the necklace and she's like, that was no ordinary seal, that was my son.
Oh, that's so sad.
I know. I finished on a sad note.
You did, but that was a phenomenal amount of the most amazing discoveries and storytelling that I have ever heard. This is the most satisfying episode ever. I learned like 100 million new things, and we talked about things we have not talked about before. I have like 16 new t-shirt ideas. I want to do like 57 sketches in my sketchbook right now. Maybe I'll do that while I'm waiting at the dentist for my kids.
Please do
amazing.
Let me see.
Like amazing. Like, oh my God, that was so much fun ever.
I know. I love Selkies. I'm fascinated
by them.
Whole
week. I was mildly interested, and now I'm gonna go listen to this over because I know I missed like 6 things. That was amazing. Lucy, you outdid yourself, girlfriend. I don't know what you were worried about. That was outstanding and hilarious and interesting.
It happens every time. We don't have enough to talk about, and then we run out of time.
That was exceptionally amazing. I loved every second of it.
And I can't wait until yours next. Well, we're going to record early for one.
We are, so we can get drunk because it's been forever. I need to toast to this episode right now, but I have to run to the dentist and do boring mom things. But
enjoy.
We'll be back in 7 days with another, hopefully equally tantalizing episode.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
My God, thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so much for listening.
All right, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.